you doing? What are you doing?
It's time.
Excalibur, one of the starter warframes. He must be absolutely terrible, right? Only noobs use him. He must be trash. He must be absolute garbage. Well, you're wrong. I have seen some really powerful builds that utilize heavy attacks on the Exalted blades, dealing the damage cap and absolutely slaughtering everything. Well, I have an issue with these builds. They're a bit slow when you're stood on the spot and having to shoot while doing a slow heavy attack. I mean, you can exploit it to make it faster. I still feel stuck on the spot though. I'd rather be dashing around and dealing out damage and being able to travel across the map really fast and constantly be moving. Even better, whenever you use slash dash, you are invulnerable. So the logic here is, as long as you keep using slash dash and you have enough energy to do this, you're going to constantly be invulnerable and not die. So why not make a build that does absolutely loads of damage with slash dash and makes you untouchable? And this is why I think this is one of the most lore accurate builds I've ever made on Warframe. When I play Excalibur, I feel untouchable and almost godlike. Excalibur's able to nuke a room using the Exalted blade and slash dash combo with melee influence, and I'm able to get around super fast. I really do feel like a godlike ninja. Let's take a look at the build for Excalibur. So, two very important mods are Surging Dash and Chromatic Blade. Surging Dash, because you want to constantly keep your combo multiplier up, as for this build, the Exalted blade is going to be using Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds. You need to use Chromatic Blade, but you need to set your emissive color to ensure lightning damage is being done. This is because this build, of course, uses one of the best arcanes there is for a melee weapon, Melee Influence. Melee Influence turns the Exalted blade and slash dash combo into an absolute room clearing nuke that also lets you get from A to B extremely rapidly. Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds, as you can see, will increase the stats and crit chance to a ridiculous high. And also the Exalted blade having such a high base damage, it's going to be the melee influence electricity procs are going to do tons and tons of damage. You could switch out condition overloads if, say, you don't have a primer. Probably for more just electricity damage would do. Or you could use a smite mod. Now, people love smite mods because technically, if you do the maths behind it, you can deal tons more damage to that specific type of enemy. But I much prefer building for like general use and not like Bane against a specific enemy. So I much prefer building it like I have done. Mods like Primed Reach don't matter, or anything that increases attack speed, because we're going to be using slash dash, which is an ability. It doesn't rely on these mods, because for the play style of this build, you're just going to be basically spamming slash dash all the time, sometimes using Wrathful Vance, sometimes using heavy attacks using the Exalted blade, which is why I've got Amalgam Organ Shatter here, just so the heavy attacks are a bit faster. Truce Flame is another really good one here. Because we're not going to be using the Exalted blade like a normal weapon, we're not going to be using its normal just base melee attack. We're only going to be using slash dash, which doesn't trigger Technokai and heavy attacks. It means you have no risk of triggering the curse, but you have all the benefits of triggering truth.
You may
Shut up,
also
all
never
this.
form a
If you wanted to, on the main Excalibur build, you could switch out Precision Intensify for Umbral Intensify to say boost your helmet ability more. But because I myself just spam slash attack slash dash the most, the best one is building up the Exalted Blade damage. So yeah, like I've said before, I recommend using Ralph Advance as the helmet ability. Basically, I use this to one-shot acolytes which don't have nullifying effects or any like Eximuses with tons of health that I just want to eradicate straight away. If say the enemy can't be targeted by slash dash or wrathful advance or is nullifying, the best thing to do is just use heavy attacks from a distance with the Exalted Blade, and it usually gets it killed nearly almost as fast. So yeah, like I've mentioned before, a lot of Excalibur builds focus on heavy attacks, standing still and spamming the Exalted Blade projectiles. Well, you can still do that with this build, but it just gives you that added layer of you can spam your number one to stay alive and you're not stuck on the spot. You can use this build to dash around the map and do all types of missions rather than, I guess, Exalted Blade heavy builds are best for things like defense where you're still on the target and you can shoot all around and nuke. Could also swap out Arcane Crepuscular. The reason though I'm using this Arcane is I use Shade to give me invisibility as an extra layer of survivability. Because slash dash doesn't actually count as a weapon attack, it doesn't stop you from being invisible while under Shade's cloak. So with Shade or Shade Prime, you need to use Ghost and Revenge to make sure you just remain cloaked and Shade doesn't take you out of it. Also, a great one to have is Tenacious Bond. I'm sure you hear this all the time, but you want that final crit damage. If you do use a weapon or say a helmet ability like Culervo's Advance, which forces you to do a heavy attack, you will come out of cloak and it will leave you a bit more vulnerable unless you do a slash dash. So for example, if you start doing heavy attacks with a Exalted Blade to kill a target with high health that you can't get with slash dash or wrathful advance, you need to be careful. You could replace Arcane Crepuscular with Arcane Energize, as particularly in levels where there's a low enemy density, this build suffers because basically this build needs a lot of energy to basically keep your Exalted Blade out and keep using slash dash. So if there's not that many enemies in the level, this build's actually worse. So this build's actually better the harder the level and the more enemies there are in the level, just so you can get more energy and also so your electricity status proc can spread more. This is one reason why I use preparation. So for example, exterminations or rescue, I can just hop in, dash around the map and quickly complete the objective. It was actually my login 400 today, so I just got prime sure-footed. You could also use that, but you'd probably have to former the build a bit more than I have, just so you have a higher starting energy. You may have noticed I put this build on normal Excalibur. You can actually make it better with Excalibur Umbra or Excalibur Prime. Excalibur doesn't have that high of an energy pool, so when you put Prime Flow on, it doesn't actually go above 500 energy. If say you had Excalibur Umbra, this is a similar build I've done, he's already above 500 energy with Prime Flow, so you could use 5 Violet Archon Shards, meaning the build would be much better on Excalibur Umbra. And we need to go above 500 energy because we're going to be using purple Archon Shards, which double in effectiveness for the crit damage when you're above 500 energy. This means for just normal Excalibur, you're going to have to use one Tau Forged Archon Shard just so the energy is kept above 500, and then the rest you can use Violet Archon Shards. The primary, secondary, and melee for your build doesn't really matter. You can use whatever you like. The problem though with using weapons is it's going to decloak you as Shade, and you're not going to be invulnerable because you're not going to be using slash dash. The whole point of this build is to continuously be using the Exalted Blade and slash dash combo to keep you invulnerable and dealing tons of damage. So as soon as you start using weapons, you're likely to die in high level content. So this build's really if you like using a sword and like dashing around and feeling really fast and invincible. It's kind of a really fun play style which takes away from having to use weapons. It's almost like a lazy spam your first ability build and you won't die. Let's take a quick look on how this works in the simulacrum. Alright, there's a lot of ways you can play with this build, but the most important thing with this build is you have to get the Exalted Blade out as soon as you use any of the other abilities. So you can either, I don't know, say there's a single target that has a lot of health. You could use the Wrathful Advance, and there we go, just that hot target is going to be killed and everything else in the room. It does feel a bit slower to me. Now, the most important way to play this build is with the slash dash. So that's with number ones. Look how I'm invisible. So Arcane Crisp, whatever. This is activated, this thing. Ability strength and critical damage. And it adds an extra bit of protection. And then, I know, just spam one and pretty much everything's going to be nuked. So that, I've already got a 6 times combo. Now I've got a 6 times combo, it's going to do even more damage. Pretty much just annihilates everything straight away. Right, let's try with some Eximuses. Look at that. I mean, it kind of really chain. Like, you only have to click it once there and it chains with enemies nearby. If, say, there's just one enemy nearby. Right, so say there's just one enemy. Like this. I mean, the melee influence won't trigger as much. And it won't chain, but look at that. It still does a really good amount of damage, but it's better when there's multiple enemies in the same place. Yeah, say there's one of these Demolisher Juggernauts nearby that have a nullifying effect. You could just whip out your Exalted Blades and kill them that way. It does do an incredible amount of damage. Some of the other, like, just pure heavy attack builds are a bit overkill, but this one still gets the job done. Say I did this. And, you know, just use it once, for example. Yeah, they're not lasting long. Took two shots of that. It'll be even more if say I did this, and then used it. Oh my god, was that 3 million damage per tick of electricity status? Let's go and look at that again. Yeah, so use Wrathful Advance to teleport if you can't go near the enemy because of the nullifying. Oh, I have to use it again. Oh yes, almost 2 million per tick. They've got no chance. So yeah, if there's a Stalker Acolyte, just click number 3 on them. If it's one that doesn't have a nullifying effect, then they're done for. And yeah, if the enemy's through the wall as well, just go like this, and it will still hit them. Look at that. Even from all that way away, it will still hit them. That's if they're quite away through the wall. Or you could just, you know, dash up and hit them. I generally don't use the stun too much. It seems to be kind of a wasted ability slot for me, but I could see how you could stun the enemies. But to be honest, with this build, they just die so quick, there's no point. Especially if you're insta-killing the Acolytes in one hit. So this is like, if there's a nullifying single target, you should use a heavy attack, but if they're not nullifying, like it's an Acolyte that doesn't have that ability, then you can just go like that. And the Acolyte is gone, as well as like anything in the surrounding area. because it launches. You have to have your Exalted Blade out, because when you use the slash dash or heavy attack, like my number 3 ability, it launches one of these projectiles out, which will just nuke the room. Oh, I forgot to mention, the important part of this build is every time you click number 1 and spam it, you look in the top right, I'm invulnerable. Alright, I just want to quickly show a weakness of this build, and that's if Nullifiers are present. If you charge through this, I mean, your ability is going to stop. There is a way to stop this though. What you need to do is charge at something with your first slash dash that is not in a bubble. So all these are annoyingly in the bubbles. There we go. I got rid of this guy's bubble just by slash dashing into someone next to it and avoiding the bubble. So one of the best things about this build is its mobility. Oh my god, the Excalibur. You can spam this because it starts with so much energy. You can easily do an extermination or capture mission. As you see there, the gas just triggered. It doesn't actually take you out of cloak, even though it is like a weapon attack. Oh yeah, if you fall out of the map, you do have to take out your Exalted Blade, just put it away.
There's a heavy unit approaching. The relic has been cracked open. Finish your mission to find out what's inside.
Oh, so annoying Xmas is like this. Goodbye, 8 million damage. Or you could just spam your 1. It's just there wasn't enough enemies around to build up the status on them. Look at that. Absolute room clearer. And yeah, you can just do this room to room. I just use my enemy radar to know where to dash to next. And I mean, 67 enemies killed that quickly is pretty good. 1.5 minutes, pretty good. I mean, yeah, on maps where there's big open spaces, you can, I mean, use the dash, or you could even use the teleport by holding down the Rifle Advance. Damn, Hildren Prime system, is that good?